Man, I can't believe our ship, the USCSS podcast, auto-navigated us back here and then landed. And then also opened the bay doors all on its own?
Yeah, I blame Coolerbot's spill.
Don't be such a wet blanket.
Well, as long as we're here, let's look through this wreckage for some parts to fix the autopilot.
Hey, speaking of, weren't there monsters or something here the last time we came by?
Man, I don't remember, but come on, it's way too cold for anything to survive.
Dude, whatever you're looking for, we better find it real fucking fast.
Welcome to Crew Expendable. I am 227-N.
And I am 122-M.
And we're just a couple of synthetics mining our way through the Alien franchise.
Love it. Great work.
We did it, Kenny. We used the designations from issue 1 that we talked about using in issue 2, but didn't.
Yeah, we threatened to last time and then forgot, so we're doing it now.
Yeah, we are. Today we're going to talk about Alien Descendant issue 3 from 20th Century Studios and Marvel Comics. But before we jump into that, and speaking of Marvel Comics, I posted a little clip from the show on the internet in various places earlier this week at the time of this recording of our conversation about if the Thing, Ben Grimm from the Fantastic Four, could defeat a Xenomorph in combat or not. And
great clip. I thought it was very entertaining. I'm glad we posted that as a short.
We got some replies to that in various places. I want to shout out. I posted on my personal TikTok at Final Neil. Just if anyone wants to follow me, I don't post anything but clips from podcasts I do there now, and barely do those. So, but I'd appreciate the follow.
I hear you.
Got a comment from Rashad Stiles, who brings up a very interesting point that we should have considered this in that conversation. He says, I mean, would a chestburster on Ben not make a Xenomorph with his physical attributes? Which is a very, very real point, because part of my argument was that thing's not busting out of him very easily for sure, because it's not going to be strong enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that both of us have an encyclopedic knowledge of every single facet of how the Xenomorph has been depicted as working, but like their DNA reflex is kind of the main thing.
That's kind of,
and both of us completely fucking forgot about it.
Kind of a huge, like if you're into the Xenomorph, the Aliens toy line, that's all it is. It's just different hybrid species of Xenomorph.
You sent me a screenshot of that message and I immediately went, haha, oh yeah, fuck, whoops.
Couple considerations.
I immediately
here.
went, oh man, that was stupid. I cannot fucking believe we forgot about it.
So I do respond to him. I say this is a very good point. I guess it depends on if the powers are scaled down due to the size of the burster. I think that is a consideration, right? Because those things don't come out super strong. They grow very rapidly, right? But they don't start out super strong.
And another thing to consider is that because it's not fully like the DNA of Ben Grimm, maybe it did get attributes of him, but if it's not 100% as powerful as his is, it's not going to be able to, because it's not comprised only of his DNA, it might not have the entirety of his abilities.
That's true. It might be a little bit dropped
diluted.
The word. Diluted was the word I was looking for. Rashad responds to me, it's probably in response to it being scaled down, probably. But if it takes the same stone skin he has, it'd likely be no different than with a regular person, with a normal person, just muddier maybe.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now,
good point.
Valid point. I'm going to pitch to you a scenario, okay?
All right.
Ben Grimm gets face hugged. Somehow a face hugger is able to open his clenched rock jaws and do the deed, right? Xenomorph grows inside the chest of Ben Grimm, the Thing from the Fantastic Four, develops his stone skin and enhanced strength. As it's born, it tries to tear its way out of him, but it can't. So now we've just got like this squishy, muddy inside of Ben Grimm with a little xenomorph inside. A stone xenomorph just sort of tumbling around in there, right?
Yeah. All right. Knocking around. Yeah.
Knocking around, much like a rock tumbler.
Like the metaphor I was going to give was a mouse running around inside of a suit of armor, but yeah, yours probably works better.
Sure. So when this thing finally does find its escape route, whatever cavity that may be, we don't need to get into the details of it. That thing's just going to be shiny and polished like a marble.
Yeah, it's going to look like a diamond, probably. Yeah.
Sure. Man, I'd like to see that in a Marvel comic. Come on, Marvel, do it. Fantastic Four versus aliens. Kill Ben Grimm.
Yeah, why not? Comic. Why not do a storyline where Xenomorph show up and just kill every Marvel character? Why not? Who cares?
Sure, do it. It doesn't have to be canon, right? It can be alternate. It can be Marvel Zombies style, an alternate universe, right?
It would be funny if it was canon, though.
Do it, Marvel. Do it, you cowards. Have Chip Zdarsky write it. He writes everything for them right now.
He sure does. He definitely does do that. You're correct.
Yeah. I don't know. I just had the image in my head of a little rock xenomorph just rolling around inside the guts of Ben Grimm, polishing itself against his stone skin and emerging perfectly spherical and ready to display on your rock collection shelf.
So then I guess that leads to another related question. His skin is the only thing that turned rock, like his internal organs aren't any harder than a normal person's. Is that how that works?
I think so. This was explored briefly in Ultimate Fantastic Four. I don't remember the full context, but I do remember Reed Richards just point blank asking Ben Grimm how he goes to the bathroom, implying that there are other biological changes that happened with this cosmic radiation mutation. So
that's fair.
You know, I don't have the answers to that.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I was just more passively curious and thought of the question because we were talking about it. It's not like something that's burning and eating away at me or anything. So.
Sure. I'll consult the Marvel Encyclopedia later.
I'm sure the question's been answered somewhere.
Probably. I know there's that scene in Mallrats where Jason Lee's character, I think that's Brody, is talking to Stan Lee and asks Stan Lee if the thing's junk is also made of stone like the rest of him. And Stan Lee did not reveal it.
I'm sure he didn't. Why would he?
Yeah, well, he says it's a superhero secret. Anyway, rest in peace, Stan Lee.
That's right. I agree. Rest in peace, Stan Lee.
Before we really jump into issue 3 here, we didn't do something on the last episode. We might not have done it on the previous one. Typically, we answer the question after reading the issues. If we didn't have to cover the rest of the series for the show, would we keep picking up this book? And I'm curious because, well, I know how I feel, but Kenny, I'm interested in how you feel. If you remember the events of Descendant issues 1 and 2, would you have picked up this issue 3 if we didn't have to?
You know, it's funny because despite me admitting at the beginning of the episode for 2 that I literally didn't remember what happened in issue 1.
Yeah.
I actually remember what you told me happened in it well enough that I can actually answer for both of the issues we've done so far.
Okay.
After issue 1, no. After issue 2, yes.
Okay. For me, I think I'm the opposite.
Right.
First of all, we did less than a week ago, or maybe a week ago, we did the issue 2 recording. I don't remember issue 2 at all at this point.
All right.
I do know that this entire storyline. Okay, I remember the ending. You know what? Yeah, honestly, because I loved Thaw so much, and because the ending of issue 2 revealed Dayton all plugged in, surviving and all plugged into the gear inside the keg, I probably would have picked this one up too. But what's carrying this for me so far is just the enjoyment I got out of Thaw. This book isn't really giving me anything new, like anything to be excited about yet.
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of the reason why my answer is no for issue 1, because issue 1 it was like, Zasha came back, but like otherwise it was just like a bunch of bullshit of like people standing around talking, like, people running around not really doing anything of consequence. Xenomorphs were barely in it. Like you said in the last episode, they introduced like a dozen new characters.
Yeah.
And so like issue 1 was just, it was really confusing. It was paced both really really fast because they had so many characters to introduce,
Right.
and really slowly because nothing really happened in it. Like the entire issue was just introducing us to the characters.
Right.
And whereas issue 2 is when it actually finally started to get good, because like we found out why Zasha was there. We were teased and then given the reintroduction of Dayton. Xenomorph started actually popping up and being around and doing stuff. Like issue 2 was where the comic actually started to pick up, but issue 1 I was like, nothing really happened there.
It's coming back to me now. There was we got to see some nesting happening, some alien hive inside the sunken Boreas, right?
And that one person was nested upside down.
That's right. That was dope. We've got we got more of those flashbacks that I was a little bit confused about until it all came back to me during our last discussion that those are flashbacks. And that's why the art style is different. You think crediting a different artist with doing the past scenes would have tipped it off when I was reading the credits page, but
yeah, you'd think.
But hey,
it's fine.
Hey, I am not a perfect organism. Okay. All right. Cut me some slack, people.
Got him.
I am really interested in what's going on with that. If I remember correctly, they successfully captured those androids on that mining colony, that mining operation that we took the designations from. They got the foreman, the human foreman. He died, but they were able to capture the chest burster from him, and that thing matured. And did it escape at the end of issue 3?
I believe it did, because I believe the last time we saw those guys was like the mining one like pulled a gun on it, and we were joking about how, what the fuck is a gun gonna do against these guys?
Right.
And then I believe it started to break out and it cut away right then. And I think that was the last time we saw him, I think.
Gotcha. And I know we had some discussions on like that happened before Bloodlines. So is that actually the first specimen that they got, not the alpha? But then we were like, well, the alpha was the first one they successfully extracted and somebody survived. And also, if this thing did break out, they may not actually have it in captivity. So alpha would still be the first one that Weyland-Yutani possesses, right? We figured that was maybe more like first contact or first attempt.
Yeah, and that's another thing. We also have to, I have to anyway, give the caveat that it's like we're assuming it's first contact, but like even though we already know that first contact happened like 40 years before this,
right,
because we saw the first movie, but the fact that these guys, these synthetics, don't know what it is they're looking at doesn't necessarily mean that Weyland-Yutani has never seen these things before.
Right.
So,
that's fair.
So I'm just giving the caveat that our guess is that those flashbacks are giving like, first contact or first capture, but we don't actually know, because as of yet in the book, we have not been given the context for why these scenes are relevant or important. That's all I'm saying.
Right. There's also the very real possibility that Weyland-Yutani knew that this thing might be there, which is why this mining operation on this other planet was happening in the first place.
I mean, that is extremely something they would and have done.
Yeah. So all of our speculation about that from the last episode, you can probably just throw it away.
Unless it's correct. Who knows? Yeah. Again, we don't know why it's even there.
Yeah.
So.
I want to say before, again, one last thought on the previous 2 issues before part 3, splitting the story like that, even in such a limited format, like the limited glimpses we're getting into that past thing in a 4-issue miniseries, is like, it's striking me that there's not enough story to tell at both of these locations, which is why we're getting 2 stories. Right. But they're going to have to intersect at some point. And you know, before we read this issue, we're halfway done with the series. So I'm hoping we get some connections. I'm hoping that those past scenes aren't just things setting up something that's going to happen in a future Marvel series.
Yeah, it's wild too, because like you pointed out, like, you know, we have these two storylines happening at once. We're all like, this issue is the beginning of the second half of the story. So
Yeah.
we only have 2 issues left. We already have the 2 storylines going, and we both remember the events of the last annual, which introduced
Right.
that gigantic tick monster thing.
Yeah.
And that hasn't even shown up yet. So there's a third storyline that's supposed to be happening, and this story is only 4 issues long.
Yeah, there's a lot that's got to happen still, and I don't know. I mean, look, Declan Shalvey's a good writer. The previous Alien arc that he did, including the annual, they were all well received by us, and I think generally well received.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the thing. It's like, I'm sitting here looking at, like, you know, all the cards laid out on the table, and I was like, I don't know, man, there's a lot of work here to do. On the other hand, though, Thaw was good, so I am willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
But I'm like, damn, man, you got a whole lot of work ahead of you here.
Let's see how it goes, and let's remember at the end of this to discuss if we're excited about issue 4 or not.
All right. Well, then, to give just a little bare bones bit of context for all the listeners out there.
Yes.
If you recall, issue 2 was mainly Zasha heading on her way to which ship was it? The Keg?
Yeah, she was going to the installation, the Keg. Yes.
Yeah. And she was going there specifically to find the remains of her, what I guess it would be stepfather, I guess.
Yeah.
Dayton, who was revealed to be an android in Thaw, and she's going there to rescue him because he's just been stuck there for like 13 years.
He like sacrificed himself so that she could get away at the end of Thaw, if I'm remembering correctly.
You are,
Yeah.
yes.
God, Thaw was really good. Thaw was a breath of fresh air for these Marvel comics.
And meanwhile, there's a little kid. He's like a teenager, maybe early 20s. June Utani, who has shown up to this whole what's
LV695.
Well, I was trying to think of the word, like the whole the whole deal, the whole situation here. He has shown up here because he wants to bring, I believe, the Boreas out from under the water. And I don't remember why he wanted to do it. Was it just to salvage for parts?
No, he says there's property on there that belongs to his family, and he's trying to reclaim that. And I'm sure what he means by that is the Xenomorph specimens, right?
I'm sure, yes.
It always is, right? If it's like, if he's like, man, I left my Xbox on board, you know, I don't know, but other details. Yeah. So there's this expedition to raise the Boreas with these, I was calling them gliders, these ships that can maneuver underwater and fly in the air, and that are going to latch onto the Boreas and raise it to the surface. Zasha, under the name Cole, was a part of this mission. She got put on this mission specifically because she wanted to come back to look for Dayton. So she has abandoned her post, her team on the Boreas, because they did go underwater and get in there. I don't even remember their fucking names because they all died and got nested up and stuff. You know,
I think one of them was named Frank. I don't remember who any of the other ones were.
There's a Miguel. There's a this and that. They're all red shirts.
They sure the fuck are.
We don't know anything about any of these people. A couple of them were fooling around in issue 1, and they got xenomorphed, right?
They sure did.
This is a real Mickey Mouse operation, if you'll allow me, and I
will.
And that's what happens when you put like an 18-year-old in charge of a salvage mission, right?
Also correct.
Yeah, and I also, side note on him, he does have his own space yacht that was attached to whatever the ship is that they came in on.
I thought the name of the ship was the Descendant. I thought that's where the storyline got its name.
That makes sense. We'll see.
We sure will, because I'm not saying that with absolute confidence. I thought, but I'm not sure. So
I'm pretty sure you're right though. Mother at crewexpendable.net. Let us know.
that's right.
So he's got his own private like space yacht, which I'm hoping comes into play a little bit. I don't know why, and I don't know how there's room for it, but fingers crossed.
Is that the ship he used at the end of issue 2 to fly off in pursuit of maybe Zasha, maybe to go somewhere else? Because didn't he fly away at the end of the issue on something?
I believe. Yeah. I could go back and look. Should I go back and look?
I mean, you could, but
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Okay. All right.
Flip. Yes, he did take off in his I want to call it a Corvette, specifically because for some reason it reminds me of something out of Star Wars, and I know that there are certain class of ships in there are called Corvettes, but they call it a yacht, so we'll go with that.
I don't remember them saying where it was Yutani was actually going, like if he was trying to track down Zasha or if he was going somewhere else. I don't know if they even said or not.
I think he decided that since she abandoned post to go to the keg, whatever he's looking for, she might know where it is, and it might be there also and not on the Boreas.
Gotcha. Okay.
Also, he has a synthetic assistant named Iris.
He sure does.
Which has to be a reference to the comic series Executive Assistant Iris from Aspen Press, I think.
I'm sure that is exactly what it's a reference to. Yes.
Feels like something Ron Mars would have written. Anyway, let's jump into this bad boy. Let me give the credits up top here. This book, like the rest of Descendant, is written by Declan Shalvey, with present-day artwork by Andrea Brocardo, flashback artwork by Declan Shalvey, present-day colors by Ruth Redmond, flashback colors also by Declan Shalvey, letters by Clayton Cowles, cover by Javi Fernandez and Matthew Wilson, and there are variant covers as well. Also, on this credits page, in the little infographic we always get on these, we learned that the things I've been calling gliders are called Weyland-Yutani booster ships.
Booster ships.
Yep.
I like gliders better, honestly.
Yeah, I'm going to try to use the term, but
well, it's funny. I was actually going to suggest let's just keep calling them gliders, because that way the show has consistency with itself.
Booster gliders. How about that? Yeah.
Love it.
So they are submersible.
Not awkward at all.
They have a max crew max crew complement of 4 and are submersible to a depth of 10,927 meters. Is that like Marianas Trench deep? That's
a shitload of meters, dog.
These things are swimming around with the Megs. Sorry, Kenny.
Nah, it's fine. I'm not worried about it.
All right. This cover, man, it is a cool cover. We described it in the last issue. It looks like Zasha in the front with a flare standing over a downed Xenomorph, all tinted in red and black, with some larger Xenomorphs behind her. The image is very cool. The red text for the creators and the alien title looks cheap to me. The white always looks good, and I understand this has a light background, and that was tough. I wish they had gone maybe black. The red just screams MS Paint to me for some reason. it looks added on later. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah, and it clashes with like the blue and the teal that they use to mark out the 20th Century Studios kind of logo bar at the top. Yeah. And folks, this comic book is rated parental advisory. So if
that's right,
you should read this with your children. Don't let them read it on their own. Let's dive into this thing. We will be spoiling things. We will be reading it for the first time. So grab your issue and follow along with us to hear our initial reactions to Alien Descendant issue 3 of 4. Man, still on LV 695.
I imagine the next issue also will be, spoiler alert.
I know there's only been 6 issues before this series, and now 3 issues in it. So 9 issues total taking place on this planet, because we got the annual in there. I feel like we have spent forever on this planet.
Well, I mean, to be fair, when this storyline ends, it will be like almost a year of monthly installments all on this one place.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot here is the thing. There's the keg, the Boreas site, and there's the new ship. And then a bunch of fucking ice and snow, right?
Yeah, as literally the first word of the comic says, quote, deserted. So yeah, there isn't fucking anything here, dog.
No, there's fish though. Look at that.
There sure are. They're swimming around, going yikes.
These booster ships are swimming around underwater with the fishes. Not in like the mobster way. They're still functioning, but some of them probably in the mobster way.
Probably.
And they are below sea level at the discovery site of the USCSS Boreas 10251979. Mayday, mayday. Come in, anyone. And the person on the ship is radioing back. Miguel, is everything okay? And the signal's breaking up. And two people whose names I don't fucking know are.
I don't give a fuck about them.
They're trying to contact. So the glider, the booster ship swimming down is Miguel, and it's gone. It's all gone. The camp, Letchert is injured. I don't even know who Letchert is.
I'm assuming the person sitting next to him, but I don't know.
That makes a lot of sense. I should look out for context clues.
I mean, because the person sitting next to him is in a chair and she's kind of like slumped over, either unconscious or dead, and she has like marks and bruising and blood on her. So I'm assuming he's just talking about her, but I don't know.
Yeah, man. So the camp has been ravaged by xenomorphs, and we did see xenomorphs emerging from the water after Zasha left. So they have made their appearance like full force, or a whole swarm tearing things up.
Yep. It says they ripped through it in minutes, made mincemeat out of the base.
Nearly them too. Like, who's they? And then shit, there's a xenomorph on his booster ship.
And he goes, Jesus. That's fair. Good response.
Can't shoot it off at this range. Oh, they're going to try to. Look at that. They're targeting it. And then bam. Look at that, man. One of the fish dudes.
The big white hybrid xenomorph that's all like spiky comes by and
hell yeah,
knocks the fucking xenomorph off of the ship. And he's like, and see in this panel where you can see both of them, you really get a good sense of how fucking big these things are.
Totally. I love the design of these hybrid.
Yeah, me too. I love them so much.
These, what did I call them? Xene snowmorphs. All right.
I believe so. Yes.
You can have that one for free, AVP Wiki. Damn, yeah. So these two, the big hybrid is just like absolutely wrecking a drone or something.
Yep. And then while it's doing that, the booster ship goes, I'm getting the fuck out of here, and zips away.
Fires off a whole bunch of rockets. The one stationed on the Boreas looks like it's firing at these things, blowing a whole bunch of them away. Now we got acid in the water. Is that acid gonna dissipate enough in the water to not do any damage, or do you think?
I don't know. Man, I guess we'll find out.
I guess so. Meanwhile, also, in the keg, go ahead.
Oh no, I wasn't gonna say anything important. I was just gonna say, look at those little alien crab guys crawling around.
Oh, those are rad. I like those.
They're very cool looking.
Yes. I gotta go panel by panel here. I gotta zoom in so that I'm not seeing too many spoilers ahead here. This, I want to take the time to compliment the art. The art in this is very, very cool. I do love the look of this series, Thaw included. It's got a lot of style. But now we're on the keg.
Yeah, and
wow.
Yeah, we finally get the culmination of that implied meet between Zasha and Dayton, because they're actually having a real conversation now.
Yeah, he notes, Zash, you got big. Zash, you got big. And she says, I'm not sure what you got, because he is on the floor in pieces.
He sure is.
Yeah.
He's slumping around, like, not even on the waist, because, like, he's missing above where his waist is. So he's just kind of like half of a torso sitting on the ground.
It's all spilled out in front of him. And he's got, like, the weird, like, onion beads hanging from his head, right? Mm-hmm. Half his head is kind of missing. We compared it to a Terminator previously.
Yeah, that's a fair comparison.
A little bit more skin, a battle damaged T-800 maybe.
Yeah.
Did I get that right? I'm gonna need man.
T-800 is the one from the first movie.
Spoiler alert, guys. I think we've said it on the show. We will soon be reading Alien versus Predator versus Terminator.
We sure will.
I'm gonna have to. I love the Terminator franchise, even the bad movies, except for Terminator 3.
All right.
And Salvation's not very good, but I love the fucking Terminator series. I'm gonna need to do a refresher, get these terms right, because I owe it to myself.
Well, I will say, as a very, very brief aside, I don't have anything more to say about it on this issue than this.
Yeah.
But I have seen all of the Terminator movies except for Dark Fate is the only one I have not seen.
Okay. Sorry, we brought up Terminator. I loved Dark Fate. I'm gonna watch it again. I've seen it twice. I thought it was great. I don't think the reception was as warm amongst everybody else.
People did not like it. That's true.
I thought it was great, and it affected me emotionally, which isn't hard. I will say that's not hard to do, right? Mm-hmm. When I form attachments to like specific things, if it just does like a medium job, I'm like fucking bravo. You know what I mean? But I really, really liked it. I watched it a couple of times. As a legacy sequel, as a sort of revision, I thought it did a great job. Yeah, your mileage may vary. It's a very divisive franchise.
Well, here's the thing. This conversation started by me saying that the movie you're currently talking about is the one movie I have not seen. So I can't really contribute to this part of the conversation.
No, it's not I'm telling you my opinion on it. I think you should watch it, and I'm interested in what your thoughts are when you do. But I'm just commenting that I think it was pretty good.
Fair enough.
Also, the TV show Sarah Connor Chronicles fucking rules.
I did watch that. I didn't really like it that much.
Okay. Well, it's not tonally similar to Dark Fate, so like that's not giving anything away. And
I just thought it was very slow, and it was one of those shows where like half the episodes in it, nothing really happened.
Right. It got kind of mucked with because there was a writer strike going on between seasons 1 and 2, and I think it cut a lot of plans short, and then they had to scramble to like get a season 2 together and stuff and fill episode orders. It got kind of mucked with in that way, but I really, really enjoyed it. I watched it all, at the time when it came out, and I loved it. Although I will admit, like, I've gone back to rewatch it and mostly just watched season 1 and sort of stopped there. So
I got you.
Maybe it's not as great in hindsight, right? But like season 1's like a tight 8 or 10 episodes or something like that. Maybe it's 13. I don't know. I thought it was pretty well paced. A lot of interesting ideas. But this is not a Terminator podcast, so let's move on with this comic.
It very briefly will be for one episode here soon, but it's not right now.
Should we do a month where we watch all of the Terminator movies?
I mean, we could.
I don't know. That doesn't.
There's nothing really stopping us. I mean, I don't think we should, but we could.
I don't think we could call that crew expendable if we did that. That might have to be a side project. But we got plenty of things to cover for now, so we'll circle back to that idea down the line.
For instance, this comic is one thing we could be covering.
I am having a genuine emotional reaction to Zasha hugging Dayton.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, even though it hasn't been 13 years for us, it's still nice to see him back in the mix. Because I believe by the time Thaw ended, we both agreed we thought he was good and cool and we liked him. There's a very cool shot here where right after Dayton is finished describing like what happened to him since we saw him last and how he managed to get here and everything.
Yeah.
There's an close up like insert shot of like Zasha holding Dayton, and you can see like tears running down her face. And then it cuts to the same shot from the other side so we can see Dayton, and we see fluid running out of his like white, like blood fluid running out of his eye in the exact same spot the tears are out of Zasha's eye. Yeah. And I thought that was very cool.
That is a very, this is a touching.
That's a very good panel.
This is a touching page, Yeah. Unless you hate these characters.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so she thought she was hoping so much he was still alive. Everything pointed to him being dead, but he crawled off the platform when the white xenomorphs and the black xenomorphs, when the hybrid xenomorphs and the standard xenomorphs were fighting each other, he was able to get off the platform and hook himself up to this power source to stay online.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, why did you come back here? Right. And then they have that beautiful hug moment. And
yeah,
now
she doesn't immediately say anything.
she's collected herself. She wants to unhook him and get him out of here, right? Rig something up and hook him up to her ship.
Unfortunately, she gets interrupted by, when you scroll down to the next panel, Jun Yutani threateningly holding his baseball bat while Iris has a gun on them.
Yes.
And he says, you have something that belongs to me, which I guess indicates that Dayton is what he was here to get.
It makes so much sense, right?
Yeah, it sure does.
Last they heard, Dayton was held captive on the Boreas. He escaped. Remember, he escaped, and that's because he was a synthetic. He was able to. That was part of the reveal of who he was. So like that's why he's here trying to raise the Boreas to get to this synthetic.
Turns out
executive assistant Iris is here with a hand cannon, right?
And it's very funny too, because like there's a little like swoosh of white by the tip of the gun. And because of the drawing, you can tell it's just like the end of like her ponytail or whatever. But because of the way it's drawn, it looks like it's a motion line of her suddenly bringing the gun up.
Or like there's a hole in the gun. It's like leaking something out of it, you know?
Very odd spot to put that, but I suppose it works just fine.
At Zasha's feet, she's got a flamethrower. You can see the ammo tank on it right there with a little lens flare on it. I hope that comes into play. Now we've got the credits page. I've already been through that, and we are back in 2168, the Cloudley mining colony that we referenced. All
right,
and hey, look at that! Xenomorph did escape.
Xenomorph fucking slices one of the synths open and its guts are spilling everywhere. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I do think the change in style from Andrea Briccardo to the Declan Shalvey art is still a little jarring, right?
Mm-hmm.
The color palettes and stuff being so different. Like it makes sense that he would do these and it would be like, it's in the past. We're going to give it a kind of a Instagram filter, you know, make it look retro, but it's a little jarring, honestly. Also, if you were curious, the noise that synthetics make when they get impaled by xenomorph tails is glug.
Yeah, it's HHHLLLGGG. Hug.
Oh yeah, there's hug glug. Yeah. And then
there's also thurg over here.
Yeah, and when they fall to the ground, it's thud. I do like the lettering on that thud. That's nice. This xenomorph is fucking loose at this mining operation.
Yeah, and it's probably about to go crazy guy mode over here.
So I'm sorry, Kenny. I didn't know this before we picked our designations. That was 122M who just died. Yeah, because 227N says, it's okay, I'm not going to hurt you. To the xenomorph, M was scared. He shouldn't have aimed his gun at you. And the xenomorph is pausing.
Yeah, which I don't want to say makes sense because like xenomorphs, as far as we know, aren't really capable of like that type of high level, like cranial activity, but he can probably sense that it's a synth and the synth isn't actively being hostile towards him. Yeah. So it's probably just like, now what do I do?
This is the old xenomorphs ignore synthetics unless they are, unless they present themselves as dangerous, right?
And he also says that he wants to work together with it, which is a fun idea.
We can work together. Yeah.
And then we're back in the present.
Back at the Boreas. They're engaging elevation. We're looking at this like through like the legs of a crawling xenomorph. No, we are not. Kenny, you know what this is.
I have an idea.
This is it.
About time.
Engage elevation. Roger that, Miguel. Engaging now. So Miguel got out of that scrap. Fine. The ships are now, they have these tow lines on it and they are lifting the Boreas.
They sure are.
The old barnacle Boreas here. Real rust bucket.
And let's see, they're picking it up. Some little fish guys are swimming away, going yikes again, like we saw earlier.
Let's get this baby into orbit where it's safer. This implies that the ship is still functional. I guess they were some of them were inside checking it out. They have not checked in with that team at all, right?
They even say, sure wish we knew what was going on with Frank's team. Well, they're fucking dead. So
yeah, and we got to find out where Cole went also and salvage what we can later. So they are going to pull this thing up into orbit. Although
they are.
I'm betting it's not going to work out for them.
I'm guessing probably not. Let's see. They're pulling it up. They're worried about the fact that they're missing a ship.
But they have 5, and they say they only need 4 to safely break orbit. So
cool.
They really are. Good. These booster ships, these gliders, are going to drag the thing all the way up into space.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. They're pulling it. They just get it out of sea level.
Bam.
And when they do, Miguel goes, oh, fuck, or possibly, oh, shit, because it's censored. And then...
Dios mío, are you seeing this?
It cuts back to Zasha and co.
Yeah. Having a standoff here. Mr. Yutani, nice to meet you in person. Your booster ship is secured at the southern end of the complex. And he's like, that's not why I'm here. That's not what I
don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah. I came to play baseball with your head. Well then, sweetheart, you can take that bat and shove it.
What the fuck?
Careful, Zash. Did you get it? You got ahead. You're ahead of me. Hold on.
I'm like 1 or 2 panels ahead of you.
Dayton, what's wrong? Looks like this makeshift power source isn't fully compatible with this particular model. Of course, Dayton isn't this model's designation, is it, Cole? We've met before. You see, I knew him under a different name. Didn't I? 227-in. What? What?
I was like, wait, what the?
What? Man, I am glad we picked those as our designations to really hammer home who these fucking characters are. So,
all right.
What?
Well, we haven't finished the episode or the issue yet. Let's just, it cuts back to the past and we hear somebody talking to 227N.
And it cuts back with a panel. So we got a panel of Dayton's modern head, and then 227N making the same facial expression back in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's pretty clear.
It's somebody asking for a report, and 227 is standing there talking to this xenomorph that just like broke out or came up to attack him rather.
Yeah. The humans treat us like garbage. We can't hurt them, so they don't fear us, but you can. Dude is going to use okay.
He raises out his hand towards the xenomorph, and then you see the xenomorph reaching out to put its hand on his.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's just reaching out towards the xenomorph's hand. I don't think they're actually going to shake on this deal, but
the panel is structured in such a way where it's intended to visually resemble that. Is my point.
I like this right now. I like that. Because we saw the synthetics being treated like garbage by the humans in this mining colony, right? Like literally the guy's like some of the synthetics get blown up and the guy's like, yeah, but is the mining equipment okay? You guys are expendable and replaceable, right? I'm thinking, you know what I'm thinking?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking Dayton's an Auton. I'm thinking we got an alien I think this fits in the alien resurrection section of the podcast, man.
All right, well, let's see. It cuts back to the present. And, the thing that Miguel was going Dios mio about was the fact that when they lifted up the ship from the water, there's literally dozens of the big white hybrid xenomorphs clinging onto the underside of the ship.
Oh, clinging. Yeah, crazy amount.
Just like dozens with an S on the end.
Yes, I can't even count how many, but they're like, let's get this thing up into orbit and burn them off the whole.
Yeah.
Good a plan as any, I suppose.
And then suddenly one of the booster ships starts firing on it, causing a big explosion.
Pacheco, what are you doing? And he's like, sorry, sir, shouldn't we kill as many as we can? This is another. I don't know if we met this man previously or not. We probably did.
He's some nerd with glasses.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, don't shoot them and damage our bounty, right?
They're like the whole reason we're here is to bring this ship up, so don't destroy the ship. What are you doing, dog?
Yeah, but he's made them mad, right? He's made these things mad. Not that I think that they needed to be mad to start crawling across the tow cables.
Yeah, right? They're doing exactly that, crawling across those tow tables up into the where the booster ships are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad idea. Cool. So now the guy's popping out of the top of the booster ship to shoot the thing
with a big gun, and he starts gunning them down. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Except,
unfortunately, when he kills one of them, the acid sprays all over the tether and it snaps.
Yeah. Dumbasses. Haven't they ever encountered Xenomorphs? Haven't they read an alien comic or watched a movie or read a book before?
And then when the tow cable snaps, the ship shifts and the dude on it with the gun falls off.
And we got an open hatch on the top of this booster ship with
because he had to open the hatch to come out and didn't close it when he fell to his death. So now the one of the white hybrid xenomorphs just crawls into the ship.
This is so funny. The guy is falling to his death. And we just see him say, "Oh no," as he falls. as the thing enters the hatch, and this is gnarly, dude. He splashes into the water and is just.
Yeah, there's just an eruption of just red water and a bunch of waving xenomorph tails.
This is gross. It's like
good stuff.
When Johnny Depp gets sucked into the bed in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And then cuts to the past, and we see that the xenomorph was reaching out to, who was it, 227N, in order to slash his arm off.
That's how Dayton lost his arm.
Sure is.
Dude.
Let's see. And then there is a voiceover that I don't know who it's from.
These are
talking about how
these green boxes with the white on black, the white text on black. This is Asha's monologuing. Remember, killing, it's in their DNA. It's their one true purpose, right? Some would say it's ours too, but we have something else truly in common with these monsters.
And this is all given over several panels of the xenomorph ripping his arm off.
Survival.
And he's fallen to the ground and crawling across as the xenomorph stalks up on him. And then it cuts back to the present.
But Dayton's neither xenomorph or human, and Yutani knows it.
And Yutani is, basically talking about how Dayton is company property and she needs to give him up. And then she goes, "You keep your damn hands off him," and raises the flamethrower. And Iris just immediately backhands her and she goes flying.
She goes comic book flying too. This is wild. He does say that Yutani does say that in his memory banks is intellectual property belonging to him. So it's not just the machine, this machine. It's not just Dayton, the body. It's also whatever's in his head, right? He knows some shit.
Also something interesting happening here. Yutani is talking to Dayton, and they're talking about Clowley, where, listeners, if you recall, that's where all of the flashback scenes happen.
Yes.
And Yutani says, "It was my facility. I saw the logs." Is that implying that this Yutani was running that facility when those events are happening? Because that happened 40 years ago, and this character is like maybe 20.
Well, I mean, it's the future, right?
That's true.
I'm thinking this the whole time because he knows Dayton. He knew Dayton is 227-in. It might, did he just like chill out in hypersleep for a bunch of years? Could be. Are we entering the realm of time dilation being present in the alien universe for the first time, as far as I know?
I guess we'll find out.
Faster than light travel and all of that sort of stuff, right? Maybe. I have no idea, but he looks good for being like 60 or whatever.
Yeah. He also blames Dayton for, quote, setting or letting that thing loose.
Do you think the other possibilities here, clone body, right? We know cloning exists.
Mm-hmm.
Another alien resurrection, possible connection. And maybe he's also a robot. Sorry.
I will admit, like
Robot.
when I thought you said they were autons, Neil.
He might be an auton. Sure, we don't know.
I will admit, when I first saw that panel and he says it was my facility, and my first thought was he's not old enough to have been around 40 years ago.
Yeah.
My first thought was, oh, this guy's a clone, not
Hey.
this guy's been genetically altered or is an android or whatever. My brain just automatically assumed he was some kind of clone or something.
Hey, age is just a number, man. It's not. It's not just a number, guys. Settle down.
But yeah, it cuts back to the events of trying to raise the Boreas, and we see one of the booster ships explode.
Little bits of blood maybe in the explosion. I think this is the one that the thing crawled inside of. It makes sense.
And Miguel looks over at LeChair, who was, the woman passed out next to him, and he looks over and she is dead.
She's all torn up in the guts, right? But not like chest burst or torn up, like slashed,
Yeah. And then while that's happening, we see the Boreas, who, if you recall, they're in the middle of raising from the sea, splits in half, Titanic style, and then explodes.
Yeah, did the booster ship run into it and cause the explosion? It's hard to tell.
I don't know if it necessarily ran into it, but I think it blowing up is what caused the Boreas to break in half.
Maybe
I don't know if it was from the explosion or if they crashed, but I think that is what caused it. Yeah.
Maybe it was it broke in half because they weren't supporting it in the center since they lost that glider.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe something like that. It's not sure. We get more Zasha.
Yeah, just monologuing about murder.
Humans don't have a monopoly on killing. Synths do it. God knows the monsters on this moon can do it. We all have that in common. Another thing we have in common, that one shared purpose, to survive, as we get another large shot of the Boreas crashing. Yeah,
the pieces of the Boreas falling back into the hole they just took it out of. And then when that happens, we see Neil. What would you say this is a close up of?
A big old fat eye starting to open, and then
it sure is.
Big old fat eyes both open. Then a shot of the destroyed camp with the ice cracking like crazy around it, and there she is, baby.
And then the final panel of the issue is a full page shot of that gigantic tick monster with the Alien 3 logo in its chest.
Yes.
Bursting out from the ice and screaming and waving its fucking mantis claws around.
Hell yeah. Finally. Right.
Finally.
We don't see the Alien 3 logo on its stomach. It was lower on its stomach. It's concealed by the ground being torn up by its emergence, but this is I'm excited. I am fully excited now. I will answer the question. I am absolutely looking forward to issue 4.
Not only was I already, but I'm even more so now that I'm looking at the cover for issue 4. Which the cover of issue 4 is what looks to be inside the keg, and we've got in the background Zasha and what looks like Dayton reattached to his legs, standing at the top of some stairs, looking down at like the main floor in front of them, and sitting on top of that main floor is a queen, but it's one of those white scaly hybrid queens, and it has a whole bunch of xenomorph, like regular drone xenomorph, standing in front of it while the queen shrieks at them.
This looks dope. The queen's arms are thick too. Look at those beefy arms. They're not those sinewy kind of wiry queen arms, which are, let's be clear, very strong still, but like these are like full, these are like the hybrids, This is man, guys, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, you got to the end of this. If you have not read the annual, you need to read the annual. You need to check it out.
It took 3 issues, but the events of this story finally tied into that annual.
Kenny, I'm going to open up the annual while you remind me what year this series took place in.
The present is
Yes.
in 2208.
2208. I know we did this on a previous. I'm going to do it again. We looked through the
And
dates.
by a previous episode, you mean the last episode?
It might have been the last episode. What I mostly want to see is I want to compare the panels. You know what I mean? Come on.
I do, yes.
Open the book.
No.
Here we go. So when we get, okay, so the art is different, but we do get very similar panels of the eyes starting to open and then opening in the year 2208 from the annual. So, yeah, that checks, right? Nice tease.
Yeah.
Nice tease, it turns out, in that annual.
We knew how issue 3 was going to end, as it turns out, and we
Yeah.
didn't even know it.
We didn't even know it. Okay, so we started this episode talking about like how are they going to pull this off? How are they going to pull all of these things together? How are they going to work in the events from the annual? I don't think we can do it. I don't think he can do it. We've already read 2 issues.
We spent this entire episode going, I don't see how this is going to be tied together. They better do it right now, or else what the heck are they doing? And turns out they did do it right now, and we just didn't know it yet.
Declan Shalvey strikes again. Okay.
He fucking pulled a fast one on us, dude.
Sucked me into this story. Yeah. And this Dayton reveal is wild. All right.
He busted out like 3 plot twists in a row that I genuinely didn't see coming. The Dayton one, and then the big tit guy showing up at the end. And even though it's not part of the issue, I'm still counting seeing the cover for issue 4 as a third one.
Okay. Yeah. Remind me, in Thaw, Dayton he didn't know. Did he know he was a synthetic? Or did he find it out?
I'm pretty sure he knew. I think it was Zasha that didn't know until like the reveal near the end of the story.
Because he had the arm injury. They said it happened in an accident on the on the mining colony, right? Different mining colony, it turns out.
I would say technically it did happen on the mining colony.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Was it that Batia had just, like when Zasha's father had died, she sort of like bonded with this synthetic, right? Was the story? And they didn't tell Zasha the truth.
I don't know if we're ever told the circumstances as to why Batia like decided, hey, you're Dayton now. I mean, if I had to guess, it might be because there had to be like, they showed up with like a 3-person family unit.
Right.
And so like, for like, reporting purposes, maybe they had to keep that going. I don't know. But like, I mean, I don't know if we're ever actually told the specifics as to how or why she decided that.
Yeah, it's issue 4, I think, in Thaw. I'm not going to try to look it up now, but I'm going to look it up at the end of this episode and hopefully remember to talk about it when we do Descendant issue 4. Just for context, you know what I mean? Just to see how this whole story adds up. But man, what a twist, right?
I'm still looking at this preview of the cover, and I absolutely love specifically the way the queen's mouth is drawn, like the way it's drawn, like the specific like angle that it's open at, and like the angle we see the image at. It just looks so absolutely psychotic. It makes me laugh.
Nice.
This cover is just so fucking cool, man.
Yeah, it is. I would say a marked improvement over the issue 3 cover, which just didn't really come together for me.
Yeah, I mean, the issue 3 cover is cool, but as I believe we were even discussing at the end of the last episode, it doesn't really tell us anything about what's in store.
Right.
And now that we've read the issue, it still doesn't really tell us anything about the contents.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we already said it, but I'm going to go on record once again just to make it absolutely clear. This issue started off okay, and then it suddenly took a swerve into real good, and so I'm feeling pretty high on it now.
Yes. Yeah, I'm psyched to see this. I get I have, you know, we all know, like, okay, this is a Xenomorph podcast, right? But I've mentioned many times I love when other aliens, lowercase a aliens show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this weird tick hybrid thing, I'm thrilled that they're playing with this idea, right? Like,
Yeah, I really do like those tick guys that were introduced in the annual. I think those guys are very cool. I like them a lot.
yeah, I would go so far as to say that annual is required reading for this series, because otherwise I feel like you're going to get to this last page and you're going to be like, what the fuck, where did this thing come from? And it might feel a little cheesy without the context, you know?
Yeah, if you don't read the annual, will have no idea A, what that guy is, and two, you'll never get any explanation for where the white hybrid Xenos came from.
Yeah, and the sad thing about the way that Marvel is doing these Alien series is they keep resetting numbering in the annuals, as annuals do have their own numbering, but it's easy to get lost, right? It's easy to lose something like that. You know, for the Alien series specifically, right? Like when there's an Iron Man annual or whatever, people know that they need to read it. But up to this point, there hasn't been a lot of connectivity from story arc to story arc in the Marvel Alien books, you know? There will be references, right? But like, what did they did Bloodlines, and then they did the one I can Revival. Those weren't connected. Not in any real way. I mean, yes, the goddess. Okay. Then we had that first annual, that flashback to before Bloodlines, and then we had Icarus, which sort of tried to tie things all together with the birth of the goddess.
Yeah, sure.
But it's just still, it's not a single continuity. There aren't characters crossing over. There's not a linear sort of way the events unfold. So if you're following the Marvel Alien series and you're like, oh, new number one, whole new crew, whole new this and that, you're not going to understand that the annual, like how important the annual might have been to this full story arc, right?
And on top of that, they keep, you know, like you said, they keep restarting, like every new storyline, every new arc starts with a new number one.
Right.
Except for when Revival hit, and that just picked up from issue 7. But it's like this one started off with a new number one, and this is the only one that shouldn't have.
Yes, this is the one,
because it literally is a direct sequel to the previous one. All of the rest of them were all standalones except this one, but this one got a fucking new number one.
It's really confusing, right?
Yeah, I don't know. That's Marvel, baby.
Yeah. Well,
the comic only started like 2.5 years ago, and they've already had 4 number ones.
Christ.
Yeah, that's the Marvel way. The one I was going to say the one big thing that I don't like about them, but that's not true. It is one big thing I don't like about them, but it's not the only thing.
So I have a real world example of a non-alien example of this, I should say, not a real world example. I as you know, Kenny, I've decided to become a Daredevil guy. Right?
I do know that, yes.
So I sat down I opened up the Marvel Unlimited app to like read some recent Daredevil stuff. Speaking of Chip Zdarsky, who I mentioned earlier.
You sure did.
He also wrote Jughead, guys. That's just to be clear.
He also wrote the new Howard the Duck from about 9-10 years ago.
It's not so new, maybe, but.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he's had a solo comic since then. So.
Right. But I sat down, I'm like, okay, hey, cool. I'm going to start with this Daredevil #1 by Chip Zdarsky, which is a follow-up to the previous Daredevil series by Chip Zdarsky that has its own #1 and ran for like 40 issues before they reset the numbering. And it's just like, all right. So now I've read this thing, but now I got to like go back and read the other stuff too. Like it doesn't make it as accessible for new readers as I think they think it does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me. Maybe I'm just an old man.
I mean, probably, but it's fine. Everyone's got to be someday.
Any more thoughts on Descendant before we wrap this up?
Yeah, this issue was really good. Anyone that's listening that has even the slightest inkling that maybe what you heard might be interesting, absolutely read it.
Read it, yeah. We spoiled it here. I hope you read along with it. That is the design of these, right? But some people don't care about spoilers, and that's totally fair, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to give a shout out to a listener before we wrap the show up here. Richie Eccles emailed us an adapted Alien chronology. I should have just said timeline, right?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Chronology works. It's all good.
Yes, he used the it looks like he used somebody else's list that references a lot of the somebody else's list of defining canon in the alien world, and then sort of expanded on that to fit things in that that he feels should also be taken into consideration. I think that's nice. I mean, we're not a podcast super dedicated to what is quote unquote modern canon, because we want to explore all of it, including the weird stuff. And my personal opinion on things like this is like, when there's enough stuff in a franchise, you should be able to pick and choose the things that you think are canon or not, right? I'm not a big fan of like erasing continuity. You know what I mean? I think that there's still value in those other things. And it seems like that's what he sort of was doing with this list, right?
Also, I want to interject real quick that that list that he's basing his timeline canon off of,
yes,
the original one, the one that you mentioned, was called Defining Canon in Alien World.
Yes.
That wasn't just written by some guy.
Right.
That was written by the guy that Fox hired to write the Alien RPG, Andrew E.C. Gasca.
Okay. Yes. I was trying to find those credits and I sort of stumbled through it. So I'm glad you were there to fill that in.
I mean, he's most famous to us for being the writer of the Alien RPG, but he's just generally been hired by Fox to be what is referred to as a franchise consultant.
Yeah.
He's like the guy that pieces the franchise together, decides what is and isn't canon for the thing going forward. Right. I believe he has been hired to do that for Alien, Predator, and Planet of the Apes, if I recall.
And Terminator. No.
And Terminator. I think he actually did do it for Terminator too.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I think he actually did.
Nice. Okay. And I see things here are marked canon tier 1, 2, and 3. This thank you, Richie Eccles, for doing the work. He says he couldn't find too many things, so he made a list of his own. He started with this defining canon in an alien world and used that tier list style for his own, starting with the years directly preceding Disney's purchase of 20th Century up until the end of 2023. Everything in bold is film or game material created by 20th Century or Disney. And he added some of the more iconic Dark Horse entries, but didn't invest too much into stuff that probably wouldn't be reconsidered as canon. It's cool. And I think we're going to kind of use it as a guideline. We'll probably reference this. And he wants this passed on to some of the more reputable, we're plenty reputable, some of the more established alien things out there. So I'm going to see what I can do to get it to some of these people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying we can't pass it on to these people, but I am saying that we're not already in contact with them. So
yeah, we're kind of drifting out here in space on our own, Richie. But
yeah, we're kind of just chilling. I mean, I appreciate the the drive, the gumption, the attempt, if you will, at least, and we'll do what we can on our end.
Yes, for sure. But thank you, thanks, Richie. Thanks for sending it in. Thanks for reaching out. Thanks for listening to the show. And why is my Gmail inbox suddenly the other podcast and not our podcast? What is going on?
I don't know.
Why are there 17 tabs open? Everything's falling apart, Kenny.
I'm shaking my head. SMH.
Much like the USCSS Boreas, whatever the numbers are, everything's falling apart on us.
You could say it fell apart. It's not the most accurate way to describe it, but it's not inaccurate.
Sure. Yeah, it's like tier 3 canon accurate.
Fair enough. I see what you did there. Good work.
So, folks, crew, it's time for us to start playing the Alien Resurrection video game.
It sure is.
Look, I love reading comics. I read comics all day, but we got another comic book series coming up. I love reading alien novels. We got another alien novel coming up. we just been doing a lot of comics on this podcast in a row. And I've been reading a book for my Mortal Kombat show. So
Still, huh?
yeah, we did part 2 of 3 today.
Oh, it's taking you 3 parts to do it. Wow, that's impressive.
So I'll tell you why. Okay, because we had this conversation earlier. The thing's only like 200 and something pages. It kind of divides nicely into 90-ish page chunks because there is a part 1 that is the first like 94 pages, and then part 2 is the rest of the novel. So I was like, let's split it into 3 so that we can actually read this book, because we were going to be reading this book when we announced that at the same time as we were reading Original Sin. And I was like, that's a lot of books at once. Okay.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, I wasn't like chastising you or getting on your case. I was just like, oh, you know, when we decided to break a story up into 3 pieces, we did it with a 6-issue comic book. We probably should have done that with the novels. Dang.
Well,
like you guys are.
When we get to like into Charybdis and Inferno's Fall, we're going to be dividing those up into like 4 sections because those are long books.
Yeah, they sure are.
So, yeah.
They sure are.
But next up on this show will be the Alien Resurrection video game released for the Sony PlayStation. And you know what that means? That means there will be a live stream on our YouTube channel, which will also be archived there if you don't make it to the live stream. We're doing it live, and it'll sit there. I'm not calling my shot on when we're doing that, but we're doing it very soon. After that, we will do the episode where we discuss the game more in depth as opposed to just playing it and figuring out what it's all about. So
yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I was even going to specify that our live stream of us playing, well, of you likely playing the game, will not be the episode for the show. It's just going to be us, you know, running around, goofing off, showing what it's like. And then afterwards, we're actually still going to do a normal episode like usual. So
correct. So if you haven't subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@crewexpendable. And I don't know, turn the notifications on, see when we go live. And
that's right.
I do also stream those on Twitch simultaneously on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/FinalNeil. You can subscribe to me there. I'm going to do at some point before the Resurrection stream, some stream over there, just because I have to set everything up again and make sure things are working correctly. I'll probably play the PlayStation 1 Fantastic Four game as Ben Grimm, a.k.a. The Thing.
The Thing.
Yes. Kenny.
Yo.
Where can people find you on the internet if you want them to?
Well, if you want to, I will allow you to. You can find me at pretty much anywhere. I have what would it be, a profile, I guess, under the handle at CYHOBBEZ. Yeah. I primarily am on Twitter and Blue Sky and Letterboxd are the main ones that I use.
It's called X, man. Show some respect.
I will not show it respect. No, it does not deserve respect.
That's just me literally quoting Tom Sharpling from the most recent episode of The Best Show. He also was saying it as a joke, just to be clear. You can find me on most places: Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and Twitch at FinalNeil. FinalNeil.com has links to all of those things, including my other podcast, MK Podquest, a show about Mortal Kombat extended media, non-canon stuff, where we are reading a book right now. Kenny, the episode isn't out yet, so I'll tell you this right now. That Mortal Kombat novel from 1995, an original novel written by a man named Jeff Rovin, who has written a ton of books, including the old like How to Win at Nintendo books and stuff.
All right.
Who in 2016 went on Fox News to claim that he had been a media fixer for the Clintons for years, covering up sex scandals. To which I respond, "You didn't do a very good job, man."
You sure? I mean, the only way you could possibly say he did a good job is if that means that there were like, 20,000 more that we didn't know about, and they let a couple slip through just to like cover up the rest of them,
Yeah, it's yeah.
That's wild.
Anyway.
Insane claim on his part.
It is also a weird book.
I imagine it will be.
So go check out my other show, MK Podquest, mkpodquest.com. Kenny, where can people find this show on the internet?
Well, you already plugged the YouTube, youtube.com/@crewexpendable. We have a website, crewexpendable.net. That email address is mother@crewexpendable.net. We have an Instagram that is @crewexpendablepod. Our Blue Sky is @crewexpendable, and our Twitter is @crewexpendapod.
Nice. Go follow us on all those places. I'm going to post more clips from the show. They're fun to do on social media, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, what have you. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. Thank you to all the people who reach out. It's always fun to hear from people sending us messages. Shout out to Tom Dorrington, who reached out and is working on some artwork for us. Mm-hmm. You've seen some of the previews, Kenny. I'll send you the most updated preview. It is sick as hell. We're going to use that maybe on the website. I think I'm definitely going to use it on the YouTube episodes and probably refresh our default podcast artwork with it.
Yeah,
so,
the preview that I saw was very funny, and I say that complimentary. That is not an insult. It was very funny. It made me laugh. I enjoyed it a lot.
It looks great. I'm going to send you the updated preview when we sign off here. Thanks, Tom, for working on that for us. Thanks to everybody for listening. If you, hey guys, why don't you go rate us on Spotify? Give us 5 stars, right? Go hit us up. Give us some reviews on Good Pods. Give us some positive reviews on Apple Podcasts. Why not?
It is, let's see. It has been, how many episodes has it been so far?
This is like episode 60, I think.
It's episode 60. It took us that long to be like, hey, people, go give us reviews and stuff.
I feel like we've done it once or twice before.
We probably have, yeah. But it's definitely not a standard part of the sign-off, that's for sure.
That's true. We will be back playing Alien Resurrection on the Sony PlayStation very soon. Until then, stay frosty.